land development project should you eliminate a parcel? So merge two existing parcels into one, or only create 3 parcels when you could create 4 as part of a subdivision? The answer is, in California, almost never. You should almost never do that. So I want to explain to you why you almost never want to do that, and some situations where you're going to be forced to when you're not going to have a choice because of the circumstances of the development project. You're going to have to either merge 2 existing parcels into one, or you're not going to be able to create as many parcels as you had hoped in a subdivision. So how does this question come up? Well, this question comes up when you're doing a land development project. It could come up when you're creating a subdivision, and perhaps the zoning says you can create 5 parcels, or your zoning, you can create 10 parcels, and you get into the development process and realize, man, we can't create 5 like we thought. We can only create 4. We can only create 3. And so then the question is, well, is that what you want to do? Or maybe your architect comes back to you and says, well, based on the site configuration, we think you can only fit 2 buildings, so you should only have 2 parcels and not 3 or not 4. So it can come up in the subdivision process. It can also come up when you're just reconfiguring existing lots. So maybe you have 2 or 3 adjacent lots, and you're going to go in there and you're going to move some lot lines around so that you can create room for some kind of project. And you're working with the planner or the architect or the conservationist, and they say, well, we could have 3 or 4 parcels, but we think we really only need 2. And this has come up multiple times in real life projects that I've worked on as a land surveyor. I'll give you a couple recent examples that happened in the last year. I was working on a team that was doing some redevelopment at a hospital, and they were thinking about configuring some things around and maybe selling a building, and they had 4 or 5 parcels, and they said, well, we don't really need that parcel. We've only got 4 buildings, and everybody was thinking, well, we'll just get rid of that parcel. And then I was the one guy at the table that kind of raised my hand and said, no, let's not do that. Let's see if we can keep that parcel even if it doesn't have a building on it. Let's see if we can make it what I call parking lot parcel. Just make it a parcel that has a parking lot on it. And so, then everybody wants to know, this is a surveyor, he's causing problems again. Why does he want to do that? Another example, I had a client that we're working with on a small commercial subdivision, and he could create 4 lots, but he said, I think I only need 3. And we told him, no, let's go ahead and create 4, even if we have to move that lot line a little bit later on, depending on what you decide you want to build. Let's not get rid of that parcel. Let's go ahead and create the maximum number of parcels we can create under the zoning. So, when should you eliminate a parcel? As I said, in California, the answer is almost always never. You should never eliminate a parcel if given a choice. And you should only do that when you're forced. So I'm going to give you 4 situations in which you might be forced to eliminate a parcel, either through merger or because you're not going to subdivide to the full potential of the zoning. Here's the first one. If you're going to have a building across the line. Most public agencies will not let you do that, and most people do not want property lines running through their buildings. So most of the time, if you're going to have a building that's going to cross a property line, you're going to have to get rid of the property line. So you're either going to have to move it to go around the building, or you're just going to have to get rid of it through a merger. So that's the first situation. The second situation is when the design constraints mean that you're not going to be able to create a compliant parcel. So maybe you've got a 10-acre parcel and you're zoned for 5, so you think you can get 2 parcels, but just the way the lot's configured, maybe the way that the buildable area on the lot is, and some access constraints. The only way to get a buildable parcel is to have it 6 acres, which means you're only left with 4, which means you're substandard. That 4-acre parcel won't be compliant with the zoning, so you're going to have to do a merger, or you won't be able to subdivide. You won't be able to get 2 parcels. You're not going to do subdivision. You're just going to keep one 10-acre lot. The third situation is when the cost to create a parcel are prohibitive, and these last 2 are a little tricky. So I want to encourage you to consult with your land attorney on these last 2. But so what I mean by that is, in some jurisdictions there may be requirements in order to create a legal parcel. They're going to have some set of requirements, and in my opinion, a lot of agencies will take this too far, and they want to impose conditions that really shouldn't be imposed until they issue a building permit. But they'll do that anyways. They'll do it at the time of the parcel creation instead of the time of the building permit. And so they'll ask you to stub utilities and treat all your drainage on site, and maybe they even make you put in. They want to see a building pad. They want to see a full set of design plans. And so you may decide it's cost prohibitive to meet the agency requirements because the agency wants to see a buildable parcel. And so that just may be cost prohibitive from a design and improvement perspective. Or you may decide that even though the agency can't legally require that, that's just too expensive to fight that, and you're going to go ahead and give up your parcel. You're going to either do a merger or not meet the full potential of the zoning through a subdivision. And there's a cost-benefit analysis that has to be done there. You need to talk to a good land attorney and a good land surveyor to figure that out. The fourth situation is similar to that, and that's when the governing agency, so the city or the county in California, tells you you have to. We're not going to approve your development unless you merge, or we're not going to approve your development with 4 parcels. We'll only approve it with 3, even though the zoning says you can have 4. And again, you want to talk to your land attorney there. But public agencies like fewer parcels, not more, as a general rule. And so they're going to try and limit the number of parcels you can have. And sometimes they'll impose a reduction in the number of parcels as part of a condition on getting a development approved. And you should fight that. I don't know that it's legal in many circumstances. I think it's not legal for the agency to require that, but you need to talk to a good land attorney. Even if the city is doing something that's illegal, it still costs money to prove that and to take them to court. So you got to weigh the cost versus the benefits there in those situations. So why keep as many parcels as you can? Now that we know there's some situations when you might be forced to give it up, but if you don't fall into any of those situations, why does it make good economic sense as a land developer to keep those parcels? I'm going to give you again 4 reasons why that's smart. So here's the first one. The subdivision process is expensive in California and it's time consuming, and you don't want to repeat it if you don't have to. So if you're going to go in and you're going to do a subdivision and you can create 5 lots instead of 3, create 5 lots right now. You don't want to repeat that process. It's very expensive. I tell people, even in the best situation, most places where I work in Central California, a minor subdivision or parcel map that's 4 lots or 4 lots or fewer, it's going to run you $30,000 to $60,000 depending on what you're doing. And it takes 12 months. I've seen them done sooner than that. I've seen them 9 months or 6 months, but it's really tough. So don't waste a year and $60,000 of your money. If you have 3 parcels, keep 3. Don't go to 2. If you can create 4 parcels on your parcel map, create 4. That's what the zoning allows. Don't create 2. The second reason is even if you go ahead and let's say you create 4 lots because that's what the zoning allows, and then later on you get into the design phase and you're trying to lay out your buildings and you realize one of those lot lines is in a bad spot. You can always move it. You can move it with a lot line adjustment. Now, lot line adjustments aren't free; they cost money, but we're talking about a few $1,000s on an existing project, not $30,000 or $50,000. So it's an order of magnitude less expensive to do a lot line adjustment than it is to go through the subdivision process. And by California law, public agencies aren't supposed to condition the approval of a lot line adjustment. So it's just way easier to do a lot line adjustment. Third, if you get down the road and decide that you just have to merge a couple of your parcels, you got to get rid of the lot, you can always do that later. Public agencies are almost always ready and willing to let you merge. But if you want to go and ask them to subdivide, it's a torturous process. So I always tell clients, merge at the last possible moment. Don't merge until you know you absolutely have to. There's no way around it. And finally, fourth, and maybe this may be the most important reason, you can always, if you have that extra parcel, you can always use it for sale, lease, or finance. So there's this idea in California that if you create a parcel, it has to be buildable. That's not true. So let's just say you create what I call a parking lot parcel that just has a parking lot on it. Oh, you can use that parking lot parcel as collateral on a loan. Or you could lease it. You could rent out the parking spaces on it. There's all kinds of different things you can do if you hang on to that parcel. There's tax things you could do. There's ways your lawyer can use that parcel to help you save on your taxes. Lawyers are amazing at that kind of thing. So don't limit your options in the future. Keep those parcels. There's very smart economic reasons to do that. And if you need help in California to create or keep a parking lot parcel, reach out to a good land surveyor. Don't let your architect or your conservationist or your local public official talk you into getting fewer parcels than you're entitled to under the law.